Welcome. Today we're going to look at how to make your first postcard API call using Lob's TypeScript SDK, and we're going to do this by following our QuickStart guide, which is available in Lob's Help Center. I will include a link to it in the description below. Let's get started. So the first thing you'll need is a free Lob account. So head over to lob.com, sign up, and verify your account. And once you've logged into the dashboard, you just click on Settings and navigate to the API Keys tab, and there you'll find your both test and live API keys. We're going to want to use our test API keys because we're not sending any live postcards, not today at least. Now, the next step is to make sure that you've got your languages all configured properly on your laptop. So I'm going to drop over to my terminal on my Mac here, and I'm going to type in node-v to see what version I'm running. So in this case, version 16.3. I can also see that I've got TypeScript correctly installed by typing tsc-v to see what version I'm running of that. And a little tip, I'm actually running Node Version Manager, NVM, which is a really nice way to allow you to install multiple versions of Node, so version 10, 12, 16 if you like, and easily switch between them. So I'm running NVM, there it is, and I can type in NVM ls, and it will list what versions I have installed currently, which is just one, 16.3, but I can install other versions in the future. Nice little tip. Thought I'd include that today. Now we want to go to our next step in the guide, which is to create a directory for our project and change into it, and then install a couple dependencies. So let's start there. I'm going to make my directory. I'll call it ts-qs, TypeScript QuickStart, and I'm going to cd into that directory. And if I do an ls, I can see there's nothing in there yet. So the first two things we're going to want to do is install both the lob-typescript-sdk and the ts-lib runtime library for TypeScript. Contains a lot of nice helper functions. So you can copy them from here, or you can jump over to npm and you can copy it right from there into your clipboard, go back to the terminal and paste it and run. All right, that's been added. And let's do node lobs TypeScript SDK because we need that. And we will paste that in there and run that. And if I do an ls, we can see that we have both a package.json, a package-lock, and our node modules folder. But we don't have an app yet. What we're going to do is we're going to use Visual Studio Code to create a new file. And I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code by typing code period. And that will launch my IDE for me. Cool. I will go in here and do a file new. And I'm going to call my file app.ts. Now, if you just type it right in there and you hit Control S, it will save it with that name. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. Now I've got my app file ready. And if I go to the QuickStart guide, scroll down a little bit, I have 36 lines of code here to copy, and this is my starter code. I'll come in here and I'm going to paste it in and then hit Control S to save it. Now, you'll notice up here we need our test API key. This isn't going to run properly without it. So let's go and get that from lob.com, and then I can walk you through the code and explain what it's doing. So I will go to lob.com. I've already logged in. I will go down and you can find settings on the left side at the bottom, or you can find it underneath your profile name and you click settings and then you click API keys. Now you'll see we've got secret API keys and publishable. The difference is publishable API keys are for using on your client side. for address verification only. So if you're going to use Vue.js or React and do address verification or address autocomplete, those are the keys you'll want to use. If you're doing things on the server side, which is what you do with mail and postcards like today, you'll use the secret keys. Like I said, we want the test key today. And after I record this video, I will go and regenerate my new keys because you've now seen them, so we don't want those to be available for anyone to use. So I'll go back to my project and I'm going to paste in my test API key. Now let's stop and take a quick look at the code. This is TypeScript, so I'm importing the different classes that I'm using for this project from the TypeScript SDK, and I am configuring my new configuration with my API key. I'll use that later on in the code. Next, I am creating a new postcard data object of type postcard editable, and I'm setting the to address. So who's this being sent from, who's it being sent to, and then who's it being sent from. And I'm keeping it really basic. I'm doing a PDF for the front of my postcard and for the back of my postcard. These are hosted on S3, but there's other things we can do, and maybe we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Lastly, we use the postcards API class, and we pass in our configuration, and we can call the create method. Now there's other methods available. There's a delete, there's a list method. All those are available, and TypeScript does a nice job of giving you those hints and that insight. I pass in my postcard data, and then when I get my results back, I then return the results. And so this is an asynchronous function, so when the results come back, I will then pass them into the then function and do a console log. So that's the code. Let's go here, and we need to run 2 commands in order for this code to be runnable. So I'm going to type in tsc app.ts. So this will compile my app code. And if there's anything wrong with it, it'll throw an error. That worked successfully. So let's call node app.js, and boom, it made the API call, and it came back with a lot of things, including a URL to a preview of what our postcard would look like. But that's it. Not super fancy, but let's do something a little interesting. Let's go and instead of using our from email address being inline, Lob actually has the concept of an address book. So I could go in here and I could go and grab Harry's address here, which is Lob's address, our office, and there's an address ID here. So I'm just going to go and grab that and just say all my postcards are coming from Harry. So I'm going to go in here, and I will replace that with an address. Now, the 2 addresses, if I'm sending 100 postcards to 100 people, using inline addresses might be easier if I'm pulling data from my CRM, for example. Now, you might be wondering, what about personalization? So instead of sending a PDF, maybe I want the front of my postcard to have something personal, so I can do a little HTML in here if I'd like, and I could say hello world, and you can do CSS and all these different things. You can even throw a little JavaScript in there if you're pulling things in dynamically. So I'm going to go ahead and build this, and then we'll run it again, and I'm going to grab the preview of this postcard, and I'll copy that URL, and it downloads the PDF for me. And when I open it up, the front of the postcard now says hello world, and there's our address right there with our return address. So let's say I actually want to get personal, right, which I mentioned before, and you can do that with HTML and something called merge variables. So I'll just go in here and start typing, and there it is, my merge variable property, and we can pass in a JSON object. So I'm going to create a property called name, and I'm going to put my name, and I'll put a little comma at the end. And what we can now do, instead of hello world, I can use double curly braces and say hello name. And if we go and do a quick build and then preview, all right, it made my postcard. I'm going to copy this URL. And let me go ahead and try that here. It downloaded. And if I open up, it says hello Sydney here. So that is just a really quick, short intro into using postcards with the new TypeScript SDK. There's a lot more that you can do with Lob, with our APIs, with this SDK, and with postcards themselves. If you've got a suggestion, please leave a comment below of what else you'd love to see from us. Other languages, other endpoints, other functionality you'd love for us to show off. We'd love to make more videos like this. So thanks for tuning in today, and have a great day.